Hello. So if you clicked on this video, I'm assuming you want to know what Warframe is the best for early game. Well, look no further. We're going to look into what I believe is the best starting Warframes that can carry you all the way to the end game. Now, before we get into what are in my opinion are the best Warframes in early game, you have to remember Warframe is built on the very idea that everything, in quotations, can be good with enough effort and time. So do not think this is the holy grail and the words must be followed to a T. The point of Warframe is having fun trying the builds that may not be the most overpowered, and that's really the fun of the game. With that out of the way, let's get straight into our first Warframe. Our first Warframe is going to be one that can start off at the very start of the game, and that is Mag. Mag is a very strong pick and very good at map control and the ability to restore shield, stuff along that nature. Her first ability is Pull, which pulls in enemies in front of her and smashes them into a ball, staggering them to the floor, which is very good for a low-cost ability that is in the first slot that can be used quite often. This is a good thing to pair with a good melee or an AoE type weapon. Her second ability is Magnetize, which has two modes. The first mode ensnares an enemy and pulls in all other enemies caught in the range of Magnetize, stunning them. It also grabs all projectiles. Foe and ally, it doesn't matter who's shooting, and brings them into the middle, hitting all enemies that are caught inside the AoE of Magnetize. This is a very good ability on survivals and defense type missions. The second mode allows Mag to hold a ball of energy in her hands, which she uses to capture all projectiles, shooting them back onto the enemy. This is good for clearing small hordes in small rooms or hallways. I would recommend using her first mode more, as it is really good for dealing with large amount of enemies and keeping objectives alive by deflecting the damage that it would have taken. AoE is really good on this ability. The third ability in the arsenal of Mag is Polarize. This ability drains enemy shields and gives them to the surrounding teammates. It also surrounds Mag in a shard, which will damage enemies that get close to her. This is a really good ability to pretty much keep active all the time and use it to keep you and your team alive, especially if you're using Warframes that have a lot of shield. Her fourth ability, Crush, is a very, very good room clear ability. You can smash enemies into the ground, dealing large damage. Use this to clear massive rooms with large groups. Don't use it all the time, as it uses a lot of energy, but if you see there's a bunch of enemies and, you guys with guns aren't really getting it all done, use it. It's fantastic. Her passive gives you a vacuum that grabs nearby items, making sense since she uses magnetic type abilities. That's her whole niche. It's very good starting off. That's why I put her in the first slot here, since things like mods and materials are going to be very useful early on. And you don't want to miss out running through the mission, flying through these missions. Having her magnetize to grab all those items and those mods, especially those mods, it'll help out a lot when you're building your Warframes. I will now show you a good starting build for her. So we have here the starting build for Mag. We have Steel Charge. We put that in here just because of the polarity, and gives us 18 more capacity. 4 mods, that's what these armors. We have Flown here, 2 more energy, bringing us up to 380. Intensify with the ability strength to boost up, magnetize, crush. We also pull this damage, not that much, but boost that up a little bit. Ability efficiency, so we can saber some of that energy, and then be a redirect because she has a very, very large shield. And stretch on there to increase magnetize range and crush's range, and close range, polarize as well. This stretch is something we really, really want in this build here. And if you're wondering why these are gray, is this is what this is for Mag excels at holding control of a set tile and clumping up enemies together for you and your team to destroy. She can be excellent on every mission, which makes her perfect for a starter build or a starter warframe. If you started out with her, fantastic. But if you didn't, you can get her on Phobos by killing the boss there, the sergeant. This boss is really basic. He's just basically a Grineer, or no, not a Grineer, a Corpus, normal soldier dude with a little stick. He can be done in a couple of runs. You guys should have it. I believe in you. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're finding this video useful. Our second warframe is going to be Frost. Frost is one of the best defensive warframes that is also surprisingly great at offensive as well. He commands the power of ice to slow and freeze enemies, making them easier to eradicate. Before we get into his abilities, we need to talk about his passive to make the abilities make more sense of how they should be used. His passive makes cold procs last double the normal duration, which is a massive boost. He also gains 50% armor, or not 50%, 50 armor for every enemy that has a cold status on them, which really helps his survivability. Something to know about cold that you may not know if you're watching this video is it increases critical chance by 10% per stack, to which cold maxes out at 10 stacks and completely freezes the enemy, which means it gives it a guaranteed crit. So if your weapon is like a 3 times crit damage multiplier, it doesn't matter your crit chance, it's going to crit. So if you already have a crit build, you can get the double crit, which is something that I would recommend is using a crit build with Frost for that exact reason. Because if you have a frozen enemy and you already have that 3 times crit multiplier, and then you get the hit a crit while getting the guaranteed crit, you now have 3 times the already 3 times amount damage that's put on there, which is massive, absolutely massive. His first ability is Freeze, which allows you to blast enemies dealing damage and attaching cold procs to them. This ability is fantastic if you're trying to get those cold procs, because it doesn't just hit one cold proc, it hits them for max 10 stacks, freezing them in place. The second ability that Frost has is Ice Wave, which deals more damage than Freeze in a cone in front of him and applying some cold procs. Not a max, but some. Roughly around 6, which I've determined when I was testing this out. This is a good way for clearing out weaker enemies, but I would recommend if you're trying to get those cold procs, again, to use the Freeze ability, his one. His third ability is what makes him widely used, and that is Snow Globe. He puts a frozen dome around himself, which slows and damages enemies inside it. This ability scales with range. It can be very large if you build around that right. Like a very large dome. It's really good if you can build it that way. Or you can make it smaller, again, just having how you mod it. But with Snow Globe, this makes him one of the best defensive warframes in the game, since it slows down, deals damage, and has quite a large health pool. I would recommend using this whenever there's something to defend, or you're rocking a nice camping spot on a mission that's like a survival or something like that, where you're just sitting in one spot. Avalanche is his fourth ability, which freezes enemies in a large area, dealing large damage that is similar to Mag's fourth ability, which we just went over. But if it doesn't kill them, which sometimes it doesn't, depending on what level of mission you are and the strength of your character through mods, you'll leave them frozen, giving you a chance to get those crits. This ability should be used whenever there are a large amount of enemies that need to be destroyed. Now on to the build. So here we have the Frost build. If you're wondering why this polarity is here, it's because this is the prime version. Normally you won't have this, but what we're going to start off with is physique, again for the polarity. 20 health. This is pretty decent. We put Streamline on there for efficiency for using Snow Globe and Freeze, just to make it so that it's a little more cost effective. 17.5 is nothing, that's one energy orb. And then we have Intensify for the ability strength to strengthen up the amount of damage that they do, especially for Avalanche and Snow Globe. Flow, more energy. We have fast deflection on here to give us more of a shield recharge, because we have a very, very large amount of shield on here, and including with each armor of his passive, this will help keep that up a lot longer if it gets depleted. Especially if you're going and hiding in your Snow Globe, you'll be able to get your energy back really, really fast. And then we have redirection on here, of course, to get more of an increase on shield. So yeah, this is a pretty good starting base for Frost. Some people think he should be only used on the defensive type role, which I don't get me wrong. He is a force to be reckoned with the defense. He's really, really good at that. But with damaging, since he can use his 1 to deal cold and get those crits, he's a force to be reckoned with the large amount of cold that he can put on those enemies, getting those double crits and freezing enemies. And even, you're just freezing enemies, they can't deal damage. So on, again, defenses, survivals, really any mission, if they can't deal damage, then you're winning. Now, where to obtain Frost? Frost is obtained by fighting the bosses Captain Vor and Lieutenant Krill on the mission Exta, located on Ceres. This boss fight may be a little bit more challenging than last, but if you've made it to this point, you've fought both of these bosses before. They work the same way, they just are now together in a boss fight. The best for last, and that is Nova. Nova, in my humble opinion, is an S tier throughout all the game, excelling in almost every category. She uses the power of antimatter to deploy absolute mayhem to the battlefield and protect herself, making her almost invincible with a decent build. Her first ability is antimatter, which she shrouds herself in antimatter orbs, which give her a 5% damage reduction per particle, maxing out at 20. So, at max stacks, she's literally invincible. I shouldn't have to say how good that is. It speaks for itself, really. The orbs also fly out after enemies, damaging enemies, dealing blast. It doesn't deal too much damage, but it does deal blast, which puts that blast proc on them. And since they do fly out, it does use a stack per enemy that is affected. So you have to recast this every so often. The second ability is Antimatter Drop, which allows her to shoot out an orb of energy, which can shoot to increase its damage. So you shoot out the orb, and then you shoot the orb to increase the damage of this orb. This scales for, again, the amount of damage that the weapon deals, so try and use like a high damage weapon, not just, like an SMG or something like that, like a sniper rifle or a cannon or something along those lines. High damage. It then can be hurled by pressing the power button again at a wall or floor to explode, dealing massive damage in a wide area. With the right build, this can one-hit endgame enemies with ease. So, that being said, if you're using this early game, you're going to be destroying a lot of stuff if you use it right. This ability, in my opinion, makes her a top pick for me, since it can be used in any environment and works against all enemy types. It also does not cost much, only requiring at base 50 energy. So if you put some efficiency on her, it costs less and it's fantastic. Her third ability is Wormhole. This allows you to place a two-way teleporter that you and your teammates can use. It doesn't cost quite as much. It costs quite a bit. It's like 75 base. But if you need to go around and missions need to be two places at once, this is very useful. I would recommend not using it too much, but still. The fourth ability Nova has is Molecular Prime. This ability is amazing. It has two modes, which slows down enemies and one that speeds them up. It also increases damage done to them by double, so very, very good. I would recommend using the slow on missions where the enemies are strong and taking your time, since if you speed them up, the enemies will shoot faster, hurting you in the long run. Thing is here is her passive also works towards this ability. If you have enemies that are slowed down, you get a 15% boost toward health drops, and if they're sped up, you get 15% more energy orbs, which is a massive help to not just you, but also the team. Now on to the build. So what we've got here is a good starting base where you can really build off of. So we have energy siphon up here to give us a little more energy. I do have a one of these Johns in there, but if you have one, throw it in. Whatever. If you have them, use them. Continuity here, ability duration, we want that up. Ability strength, we want that up for the antimatter drop. We have flow for more energy, which gives us 450 energy. Very good mod. Stretch for ability range, that just increases the radius of this to 21 meters. Very good. For antimatter drop and molecular prime, increases the range of that to 44. We also have null star, gets boosted up by ability duration, or not ability duration, ability strength. And then vitality on here, because you have a lot of health, and if you're slowing enemies down, especially in the beginning of the game, you're probably going to want to be slowing them down. You're going to get more of those health drops. You're going to be getting more of that health. Yeah. So this is just a very, very good starting base for your Warframe. Where she excels. Nova, in my opinion, is a great pick for any mission. Her damage reduction, the nuking potential, and the utility that she brings by speeding up or slowing down make her a perfect, well-rounded Warframe. Where to obtain? She is obtained by defeating Raptor on Nama Europa. Her perk should be obtained rather quickly, and the boss is nothing to really write home about. With that all being said, hopefully this can help you get a good footing on all the missions throughout Warframe. Remember guys, this is not a guide saying what you should 100% follow or else you will fail. It is all about what I think would help you progress and not waste time on a Warframe, which takes a longer time to build, and you need to build more on correctly to make really good. With that, thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to leave a like and a sub. Bye bye.